morning, Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you're here with us today on this AM on EOAlive. This April the 29th. It's the end of April, for crying out loud. Can you
already?
I know.
It's supposed to be 80 today too. I'm pumped. Give me that good weather. I love it. I've been waiting all year for this.
I know. Look at this, man.
I know. It's beautiful, but it's probably a tease. We're probably going to get another week of crappy weather after this. That's just the way it is.
I ordered it just to hear you bellyache.
Yeah. I don't like cold weather.
I know. It's just funny
nice on your body.
I know.
You like cold weather?
No, I don't like it, but I don't whine about it. It's just funny to watch a huge man whine about weather.
I just don't like cold weather. Baseball's my game. It's a spring, summertime sport. I love baseball. I love being outside. I don't like being cold. I don't like scraping my car off. You know that. I don't like playing in the snow. I don't want to get wet. No.
Well, and it's yeah, I know. But I mean, growing up in Wyoming, it's like, hey, I'm going to reverse this here so that we're both looking into the screen a little bit. Anyhow, no, but man, growing up in Wyoming, I just had it was useless to complain about cold. I mean, it just had, so that's me. So it's not that I like it or love it, but I think I'd rather be cold than I would be hot, because
me too.
If it's cold, yeah,
for sleeping wise, but I could put blankets on. Yeah,
right. So, but because I mean, I lived in Kansas City for 4 years, and I mean, you talk about a god awful weather place.
You ever get yourself a Gates mixed plate at Gates Barbecue?
Oh, yep. Been to Gates before. Man. Yep. Yeah. Moved to Arizona. Yeah. What's in Arizona? I've been through Arizona in July. I mean,
that's what everybody does when they get old.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about an awful place to live in the middle. I mean, because they have a monsoon season down there, and it'll be 90 degrees and raining. And I mean, you talk about awful. So
here's what I don't like about the high desert, about like that area, California, Arizona. It's dry heat. Like you don't sweat. It'll be 115 degrees and it's so dry. It just zaps you. You can walk on the roads in like Southern California, where I went to school up in the high desert, and your feet literally stick to the blacktop. That's not okay to me. That's a little too warm.
Well, and yeah, so the heat, right? The dry heat is awful.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
The wet heat, as far as I'm concerned, is worse. I mean, that's when it's humid and hot at the same time. That's like, I don't know.
I flew to Atlanta one time. I got on the plane in Portland with sweatsuit on, like sweatpants, sweatshirt. I got off the plane in the little tunnel in Atlanta, and I was soaked by the time I got to the end of the little tunnel from just walking. Yeah. Guess what happens tonight?
What happens tonight? What?
Keeping It Clear with Sheriff Cody Bowen.
That's right.
So it's an interactive live show. If anybody wants to know, Cody Bowen and myself, you can ask whatever questions you want to ask him. I mean, obviously, if it's something horrible, I'm going to blast it and say something bad about you on the air. But no.
yeah, we always want people to be courteous and respectful.
Yeah, and so far they have. I mean, we haven't had any problems. People have been really good, compelling questions too.
Yeah, and if you look around, I think we watch our social media stuff a lot more than other people do in the area who live in the social media realm. You and I were talking earlier about the Union County Classified ad.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's
just a gigantic gossip fest.
It's so funny, man. We were talking about Mike's post about the construction worker. Like, you need a construction worker, and then every keyboard ninja in the valley all of a sudden, like wants to be this voice, of reason. And it's like, okay, what qualifies you to tell the poor dude that $17 an hour isn't enough to pay a construction worker? You got a degree off Google or what?
Well, and that's the whole nother issue. But like, I mean, people are struggling to hire anybody right now because they're getting paid more on unemployment than what they would. I mean, man, you talk about a freaking mess that we're in right now. Certainly there are people out there that need help, but what they've done now with the unemployment has just created this mess of dysfunction, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, I drove by.
The mess of dysfunction is kind of like Union County Classifieds.
Well, yeah. And that, I mean, and nobody, you know, I don't know whoever started that page. I remember it's been a while ago, but I mean, I tried to get a hold of the moderators. Nobody monitors that page. People can say whatever they want. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it is
my notes.
It is the epitome of what is wrong with social media right there.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's just people are bored, man. Especially like you said, there's a lot of people that ain't working right now. So and they're getting money. So they're just chilling back on their nice new Surface laptop, blasting away keyboard ninja moves.
Well, you know, I mean, at McDonald's, I mean, I know the Willitsons who own McDonald's, and they're offering, I mean, they had a big thing out in front of their sign outside the front of the McDonald's. They're hiring employees for $14 an hour. I mean, that tells you right there.
Yeah, at McDonald's, $14 an hour.
$14 an hour. Yep. So anyhow, thanks
Let's check this weather out so we can get to Mr. Mallory there.
There you go. Isn't that pretty? All right. So
beautiful valley.
80 today.
Oh my goodness, I love it. But it says it's going to be partly cloudy and partly sunny. It looks pretty clear out there right now, but maybe there's going to be some stuff moving. It's going to be windy though. It's going to be warm and windy out at the peak today. Go out. Man, I wish I was golfing today. Dang.
Humidity is up. So, and then tomorrow again, really beautiful day though.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a little windy. Highs in the mid 70s. Oh, it says showers are going to develop in the late evening. Look at that. Like I said, look at that confidence on that kid. He's about to release his third movie. He's got a video on YouTube that has over 600,000 views. This guy right here, our weather boy.
Yeah. We need to have him on some morning and talk to him live and have him tell us about maybe he can show us a little bit of a clip of his videos, because
I mean,
he's multifaceted. That's what's interesting about Gabe.
As I'm getting to know him a little better, he's got a personality on him. He does, man. He's got like this profound level of confidence for somebody his age. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a weatherman. They ain't supposed to be that confident.
Well, yeah, but I gotta say that when a 15-year-old kid comes in and talks to this looming, loud 6'8".
I'm not 6'8".
I'm sorry, 6'5" dude. Yeah, it's like, I mean, you could be you are enough to quiet anyone up.
That's why I sit down when I talk to people. Did you know that? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah,
why I like sitting down, because I don't like lingering over people.
Yeah, but
it's really intimidating.
The first time you and I ever met was with Johnny, and we know Johnny. Johnny's loud, and it's like, okay, I think I can handle Johnny. I'm not sure about Kyle.
And me, I'm the opposite. I think I can handle Kyle, but I'm not sure about Johnny.
And by handle, I didn't mean handle. I meant I think we can have a working relationship. We can get along with each other. Anyhow,
it worked out.
Yeah, it sure did, man. I thank the Lord every day you're here. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be here. Let's get to our guest.
All right.
We were going to have father-son duo, but apparently Kris couldn't break Mike out of the retirement center, so I guess we're just going to roll with Kris today.
Yeah, and Kris, straight up, I misspelled your name last night when I was putting the promo together. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's never happened before.
Yeah, right.
I can only imagine.
So for those of you who don't know, Kris and his dad have Le Grand Star Music. They're both, Kris is the lead singer of Wasteland Kings. His son Joey did a job shadow with me last Friday. We've known each other since we were 12. We played baseball together. His dad coached me. We graduated the same class, and I moved away for a while, but we've reconnected. And just tell us a little bit about you, Kris.
Well, I think you just did.
Give us a little bit of the steamy details.
Well, I've played in the Wasteland Kings for 20 years. I think it's like 20 years. I was trying to do the math. I moved back to LeGrand. I went to Portland State for a while. after high school, so in the late 90s, and then moved back to LeGrand, went back to work at the store in like 2001. I think it was right before September 11th. And I've been back ever since. We started a band called the Hellhounds, in like 2001, 2002. And then we changed the name of the band to the Wasteland Kings when our first CD came out in 2008, 2009. And we've been the Wasteland Kings ever since. We started to run into like naming issues because there were so many bands called the Hellhounds. So we were trying to copyright stuff. So it was just a lot of work. So we changed the name of the band.
Yeah. Wasteland Kings, why is that? Is it still the original like group of you?
No, we've gone through that's sort of a byproduct of having a band for decades, is that people get burnt out. They get burnt out driving and traveling. And so right now, if it's like the full band, because we also do like an acoustic trio or duo or the full band, which is Mark Emerson, Jerry Smith, Holly Sorensen, Mike, my dad, me. Did I say Al McLeod? And I think that's everybody.
Nice.
It's like,
so where did Wasteland Kings, where did that name come from?
I think we were kind of brainstorming, and and it was like it was like the middle of winter, and we were thinking like something called like Kings of the something, but it was like negative 10 degrees outside. And so I said, well, who would want to be the king of this wasteland? And then we thought, well, that's a little wordy, you don't want to have your band name be a paragraph long. So we just shortened it to the Wasteland Kings.
Nice. So the original, who's the originals that are still left? You, your dad, Al?
Basically me and Holly have been around the longest. Yeah. And then, Luke McKern used to be in the band. Roger used to be in the band. And they still fill in from time to time. But, people get busy, get lives, get kids, that sort of stuff.
What do you got?
Don't want to drive.
How busy are you this summer? Like, what are we looking at with COVID and everything? Like, what do you guys got going on?
I think the last time I checked, we had like 20 gigs booked between, like the 3 months in summer and the 5 months of good weather.
That's better than last year.
It's way better than last year, but it's not, in a typical year, when the weather's good, we'll play 2, 3, 4 gigs a week instead of 2, 3, 4 gigs a month.
That's crazy.
But it's a lot better. And it's weird, like we already have a few big festivals booked. It's like the opposite. Like the big gigs are coming back first, but not the the little venues haven't yet. But I guess that makes some kind of sense.
Are you guys playing in Idaho at all? Because I know their COVID restrictions are way different than ours.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember anything in Idaho. We might have a fair, like a county fair in Idaho booked. But I think we have a couple county fairs and then a couple like music festivals.
Nice.
So since your dad,
really fun gigs.
So since your dad isn't here, it seems like only fair to talk about him a little bit. So
sure. I'm
yeah.
game.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So he can't defend himself. Sorry. That's what happens when you don't show up. So yeah. What was it like growing up in a music store? And I mean, talk about a little bit about your music heritage. Your dad has been playing forever. You know, when our interns did an interview of your dad a couple of years ago, I think is one of the most watched interviews that we still have, you know, but what was that like?
Yeah. Well, it's all I ever knew, you know, like having band practice at the house. Those are some of the first memories I have, are like sitting in band practice. And so I didn't ever know anything different, which is sort of weird. Like most people don't, you know, I get asked a lot, like how you form a band or how you get a band together. And like, I don't know how to not be in a band. You know, it's just, and that's the thing is like, when you start taking gigs and you start playing regularly, it's more difficult to, you know, sort of take time off and not do it. That was one byproduct of COVID that I'm super thankful for, is like, we got a year off from doing basically I mean, we still went to work, but we didn't have to gig, and it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but we're ready to get back at it, you know, for sure. But you know, I think if you, as a band, if you said, well, I think we're going to take a year off, that means you're done, you know, you're done forever. So it was unplanned, but it was nice.
Most people don't. Oh, go ahead, BC.
No, I was just saying, when you say band practice, the thing that comes to my mind is like, you know, band in a high school, and there's you know, you have the bleachers, the fault steps, and it's in the band room. But that's not how it was. Was it kind of like the family singing and playing in the living room, or did you grow up with a drum set in your garage? No. Or I mean, what did that look like?
We had we basically had a PA set up in the basement, and it was just like a stage, and we had a drum set. But you tend to not leave. I don't like, and I'm sure my dad's the same way, I don't like leaving stuff set up because it gets dusty and dirty. So then you're cleaning it on top of making sure it works and all that sort of stuff. So you do tear it down and put microphones away and put speakers away and stuff like that. But, you know, like the stage setup was always there. And band practice, I think if it's done correctly, should run a lot like a band practice with a school band or a jazz band, or, you know, it should be laid out what songs you're going to work on. And, you know, the better your practices are, the better your performances are going to be. You know, intros, the solo section, and outros are what make a band either sound amateurish or sound professional. So you always want to rehearse that stuff. A lot of songs, you know, like the singer's going to sing, that sort of stuff isn't as important, but how you start the song and how you end the song are vitally important, so everybody's on the same page, you know. So yeah,
your
practice.
Your comment about practice just pops the Lombardi quote into my head. It's not practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect. Otherwise you're going through the motions. If you aren't trying to perfect it in practice, then there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, and it's less fun during practice, making it more detail oriented, but that makes performances more fun.
Way funner. A lot of people don't understand too the life of like a band like yours, you know, a semi-local. I mean, obviously well, you know, the Pacific Northwest knows who you guys are, but you guys don't have roadies. You don't have people that travel
Nope.
around with you. You do all that yourself. So it's travel to the venue, wherever that may be, which is a road trip. And then it's set everything up. It's mingle with people for a while. It's perform. And then most of the time that same night, it's break everything down and drive all the way back to where you came from, which was here. That's a grind, man.
It is.
It's a lot.
It really is.
I grew up with a singing family too, Kris. It's kind of one of my parts of my life that I've left and I don't talk about very much, but we grew up singing in the living room. It was church music. And then when I was in college, I traveled and sang with a group. And so I understand that life. And I was really glad, you know, once I had a family, it was like, yeah, my life on the road is done. But I remember even as a young kid, my dad saying, okay, we have to get the ending right. You know, we can sound like crap in the middle, but the ending has to be strong. You know, that's not what my dad would never use the word crap, you know, but that was the truth. So, hey, so I have a question, and that is, how do you know, a lot of the stuff you guys do are cover tunes, and covered, for people that don't know what that means, it means it's a pop song that you guys recreate yourself. And what goes into that thought process? And do you try and copy it the way that it is exactly, or do you put your own personal? I mean, what do you do when you're working on a cover tune?
Well, so yes, we try and figure out how the song is played originally. But that's where it starts. You know, you want to get the song down. If it's a Tom Petty song or whatever, you basically, whatever version you're working out, you want to figure out how they did that song. And then you want to figure out what you can do to make that song your song now. Because if you don't, you're not lending anything to the song. You're just sort of doing an imitation of the song. There's nothing wrong with doing an imitation of the song. It's just not what we aspire to. You know, we try and make that. We want to make the song, when you hear us do it, that's the version that you think of. Yeah. And it's all about aspire. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We probably fail most of the time, but you always want to set the goals high, you know.
Kris, you know, my family's like very into music. Nobody's a performer. I mean, my brother, he raps, but music wise, like when BC was talking about the living room, my living room was always like Steve Winwood and then Anthrax or Led Zeppelin and Suicidal Tendencies. You know what I mean? Like what bands have kind of shaped Kris Mallory?
Boy, when I was a kid, like Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, the band. I mean, those were guys that I listened to basically from like second grade on. I remember like being in the 5th or 6th grade and just devouring Bob Dylan's greatest hits volume. I think it's called Volume 2, but it might be his first greatest hits album. It's one of those weird Bob Dylan things. And I remember like going to school and telling kids that I liked, you know, like I like Motley Crue, you know, but secretly I would listen, but I didn't want to tell kids that.
Right.
You know,
right.
that's not the coolest. You know, they're not gonna accuse you of being the coolest dude in school if you're listening to Bob Dylan.
Right.
You know, and at the time, Bob Dylan wasn't even cult cool at the time.
No,
you know, Bob
no.
Dylan, had sort of fallen off the face of the earth as far as pop music goes. And he didn't really even come back until the 90s. You know, and then he released Time Out of Mind, which won a bunch of Grammys. Is maybe my favorite Dylan album ever. We were like seniors in high school when it came out. But between like the mid to late 80s to 96, 97, those are kind of the missing years for Bob Dylan. And he wasn't as important like culturally, and he just wasn't on a lot of people's radar at that time. He certainly was not cool. And I remember specifically lying. I didn't listen to Motley Crue. I couldn't name a Motley Crue song. And
Girls.
Well, I can now. I can name 20 Motley Crue songs. But in like the 5th grade, somebody asked me what music. And I just remember my older brothers, who were considerably cooler than I was, they had Motley Crue cassettes. And so when a kid asked me what I listened to, I said Motley Crue. I wanted to tell him about Bob Dylan, but then I was like, no. Just go with the Crue.
Hey, so one of the ongoing debates in the Mallory family is whether, like, and this is my mom's favorite recording artist of all time, the Steve Winwood argument. Like, where do you stand on it?
Oh, Steve Winwood's excellent. He's incredible. Stevie Winwood is also excellent and incredible. But even his like 80s pop music stuff, like the vocal performances are just astounding. Anybody that says that there's something wrong with Stevie Winwood is wrong. And the stuff that he
did, that, like, Kevin Mallory?
60s, oh, Kevin doesn't have a clue. Kevin doesn't know what he likes until he likes it. That's just how Kevin. He's very opinionated with very little information sometimes.
Hey, he's gonna make a Facebook comment about that, and it's gonna have like 156 comments. Hey, Kris, let's change up the subject a little bit. Give me your best Johnny story. Give me your best Johnny story, because a lot of people know Johnny that follow our show. So give me your best Johnny story.
Well, this is kind of sad, but we went to, like, the highlight of my year when we were playing baseball was Stottlemyre baseball camp. Like, we got to go to camp for a week. We got to stay, I got to stay with my Uncle John, who was my best friend, and we got to stay at Stottlemyre baseball.
And real quick, you and John are close in age, but he's your uncle and you're his nephew, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
His dad is my dad's dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
He died, but
Jack Mallory.
So Jack remarried and had John, and my dad was like fully grown dude. He had me at the same time. John and I are essentially the same age.
Okay,
yeah, so
go ahead.
Basically, Johnny is Daddy's little accident.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Patsy wanted to have more kids. I'm not sure. But we were about the same age, and I loved Stottlemyre baseball camp. John was always more into football and basketball. I think he wasn't as good at baseball. I think he just had more natural ability in football and basketball. But Stottlemyre baseball camp was, it was by far the highlight of my year. And so we got to Stottlemyre camp, and we were on the Yankees. So I figured, because they put all the kids on a different team, so you could be on the, Mets or Reds or Padres and So we got there and we were on the Yankees. So I thought it was like a sign from God that this was going to be the greatest, baseball camp ever. And so like first day of practice, John was kind of spazzy as a kid. He was just
No way.
he sort of and so the first day of practice, what you would do, basically how the days were laid out, is you would do like practices in the morning, eat, and then you'd have games in the evening. So you'd go out and essentially apply what you learned in the morning. And I don't know if they still do Stottlemyre camp, but it was a spectacular baseball camp. And so like the first inning, we're running in from defense. And so instead of taking the stairs down into the dugout, John jumps into the dugout, and it's like 5 or 6 feet from the field down into the dugout, And so like a spaz, John jumps into the dugout and he hits his shin on the bleacher and splits his shin open. So he gets taken to the hospital. He gets like 20 stitches in his shin. And everybody's real upset, and like, I mean, it's 100% his fault. But everybody feels bad. So when John makes his return at like dinner time, he walks in and he's on crutches, but everybody stands up and gives him a standing ovation, because he's coming back to camp, baby, and everybody's super pumped that he didn't quit. And and so the next morning we're in the batting cages and we're taking bunting practice, and it's bunting practice. It's bunting practice, Dodzy.
Right? Yeah.
it's bunting.
Yeah.
Like there is no safer thing to do in baseball than lay down a bunt.
Right.
And so John gets the bat underneath the ball. I've never seen it in baseball. I'd never seen it before this, and I've never seen it after. He makes contact, but the ball comes off of the bat and hits him directly in the eye.
I heard that story.
and they're going at full speed. Like we were in Babe Ruth, so it wasn't like it wasn't going 30 miles an hour. It's probably going like 50 or 60 miles an hour. And it hit him, and it was like those orange dimpled
batting
balls,
practice balls.
And so he turns around, and I can actually see his eyes just immediately swelled shut, but you can actually see like the golf ball style dimples in his eye. And he couldn't, like, it was so traumatic, he couldn't see out of his eye. So they take him to the hospital. They get him all put back together again. He makes another triumphant return to Stottlemyre. And this is like Tuesday. Like, this is like
early on.
The first day, the first day he destroyed his leg. The next day he destroys his head. And then they were like, yeah, maybe baseball's not for, baseball's not for everyone.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And I think that might have been the last time he ever played baseball.
Probably.
He didn't have any desire for it. And I know that eye sort of gave him trouble, like hitting and stuff after that. And when you get hit in the head with a baseball, it will affect the way that you do whatever you were doing when you took, like guys that just shake off, get hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, it doesn't happen. There are some guys that can move past it, and adapt. But man, getting hit in the head with a baseball it's brutal.
Yeah, I like to relate it to like in football. The first time you get the snot knocked out of you, like literally in football, that's when you decide if you want to play football or not. Well, the first time you get hit in the head with a baseball, that's when you decide if you want to play baseball or not. I mean, it really is. And you're either going to be afraid of it or you're not.
I remember getting hit in majors by Andy Townsend. Boinked me off the top of the head. Yeah, I tried to get out of the way, and it hit me directly on the top of the helmet. And I thought there was serious damage done. And I remember in high school football when I was a freshman, the freshman team was playing JV, and Cade Cachado, there should have been a law against me as a freshman going against Cade Cachado as a junior or whatever. I mean, the dude was unreal, And I remember he didn't hit me full speed. He just hit me hard enough to stop me from doing whatever I was doing. Kay's a really nice guy, and I wasn't sure I wanted to play football after that.
Right. I mean, that's the determining factor, right? Nice. Good. How's things at the shop? You guys busy? You guys doing good?
We're doing great. We live in a great community, and I think people shop at our place because they want to, and they want to come down and say hi to Mike and all that sort of stuff. So we live in the right spot for a store like ours. We are never going to be millionaires, but that was never the goal. We just always kind of wanted to have a place to work.
So Mike, you're commenting you should be here, dude. Where are you at? So we'll talk about that later.
They didn't set the alarms at the retirement home.
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah. I think Mike was afraid we were going to ask him questions from the 70s, or something. Yeah. Hey, we have this picture of you. Can you explain that? Yeah.
There's some really good pictures of Mike floating around on the internet.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
This was the most horrible thing that has ever happened to me in my life. The other day, Joey actually said the words, the late 1900s. That's what they're referring to.
That's the late 1900s.
That's how they refer to us, huh?
Yeah. Mike says he's in jail. Yeah. I tell you, I saw a Facebook post the other day that said, what would they said it was like the same amount of time has passed between the 70s and now as what there was from the 70s and the roaring 20s. And that was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect you guys, but I think of the roaring 20s now the same way I thought of the roaring 20s when I was in the 70s, so it's crazy. Yeah.
We're supposedly back in the roaring 20s, like that's hopefully what this decade will have in store will be just, it doesn't look like it, but
it's crazy how things come full circle, dude. Like as we get older, we sit here and we look and we're like, I never thought mullets were going to come back. Dude, mullets are like the in thing right now.
Are they?
But my generation, we never wore mullets, man. We were we were too cool for mullets, man.
Maybe that's what Benny's going for. Benny's going for a mullet.
My son has one.
I don't think you could ever talk Mike out of having a mullet.
It's his generation.
Remain mullet strong.
Dude, my dad's had a mullet or a skullet or whatever you want to call it since I've met the guy. I mean, you know my dad, Kris. It's mullet, earrings, cut off metal shirts, and Vans, dude. That's him, like to a T.
Joey, I mean, my kid sort of, he's got, I don't know what it is, but
yeah, he does kind of have a little flowy, but it's not really a mullet because it's not short enough on top. It's just flowy. It's that.
It's sort of like a shag thing or whatever.
Yeah.
It's slightly shorter on top than it is in the back, but yeah, he's very proud of it.
Yeah, well, rock it. That's what I say. I mean, what could it hurt?
Yeah.
Maybe chicks dig the mullet now. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask around.
Yeah,
I'm about 20 years past knowing what the chicks dig.
Yeah, me too. I have no idea. Obviously, look at me. I didn't even know 20 years ago.
I think that's. Go ahead.
I knew exactly what they didn't want, but I think I could never quite nail down what they did.
Right.
No, and I was going to say, I think that's kind of the nature of life, is that when you look back, it's like, yeah, I kind of had it dialed in then, maybe, but you don't know it until you look back, I mean, so yeah, so there might have been a time when it's like, yeah, I don't know. Anyhow, so you have
what you're saying.
Yeah, I've had girls that I went to college with saying, yeah, I really had a secret crush on you then, and I'm like, I had no idea, none. Yeah, it's like
those are the ones you want to stay away from, anyways.
It's a good idea. I didn't know then, Yeah. Wait, I was hot, and you're just now telling me? Yeah.
You see, you don't want to mess with those ones anyways. Like they'll pop out of your shower like 2:00 in the morning. Like, whoa! How'd you get in my house?
Yeah, that's right.
This is great, Kris. Man, this has been fun. I enjoy it.
I've had a ball.
Yeah, it's like
I had a blast.
And one of the things that I really enjoy, and I used to do it before I moved back, was I just pop in down there and say hello to everybody, because, I mean, your dad's an important person to me. He supported me at a time in my life when I almost gave up on baseball. Like, I really did. And a lot of people know that. Like, I was at the point where I was going to quit playing baseball because when I first moved here, I was a really good baseball player. I was on all-star teams in California. I got stuck on a team where they put me in right field, and old Mike, he just gave me a shot on an all-star team for some weird reason after playing 3 innings a game. And it brought me out of a time in my life where I was going to give up on a game that I love. And so I feel like your family, they supported me through that time, and it was very important.
Oh man, I loved baseball was when I was like 10 to 15, before I just discovered, I didn't know that girls existed or that you could play music, but baseball was by far the most important thing in the world to me at that time.
Yeah.
And Mike has always had a good eye for talent, and especially in baseball. He was a good basketball coach, but I think he was always best at coaching baseball.
My favorite coach ever.
We never lost, Dodds.
No.
We never lost.
No, we won a lot.
Lost one game in Babe Ruth, and we made a couple good runs in All-Stars,
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I love about team sports, especially for kids that age, 10 to 15, is it brings people from all walks of life together. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like when I moved here, my parents were fairly early in recovery. Nobody knew them. Nobody knew me. But baseball intertwines people that probably wouldn't interact outside of it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah.
It really
Absolutely.
is.
And I remember your parents. I remember your parents were at every single game, and yelling at the umpires and yelling at me, yelling at whoever.
Yelling at anybody. Your dad tells a funny story about my mom. He tells the story like, here comes Mama Dodge yelling, and I'm thinking she's gonna chew my ass out. And she walks over to me and she gives me a big old hug and just tells me, "Thank you for everything you've done for my son." He thought she was gonna just get after him. And
I remember one time we were playing it was a big game, like it was the championship game or something. I don't remember. And there wasn't really championships in Babe Ruth, but we were probably playing to finish first. And I was up and I was incredibly nervous, and I was warming up. I was in the on deck circle and your dad called me over to the fence, and I went over there and he goes, "Hey, in 100 years, nobody's going to care about this," and,
right.
And I was like, whoa, that is 100% true, and I don't remember the outcome, but I remember the sentiment. And we didn't really lose all that often, but, and that has really stuck with me, especially for kids sports, in 100 years, it's going to mean a lot to the kid at the time, but it's an important thing to remember that I don't even remember what it was about,
Right.
And even though it stuck with me, it was good. It was the right thing to say at the time.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, in 100 years, it's not going to matter, really. I mean, nobody's even going to know. It's not like there's a little shrine in LeGrand for the Babe Ruth champion.
Yeah, 1992, hate for logging.
Hate for logging. Oh, the only bad thing about my Padres switching back to brown and yellow is that was the colors of the team that I started on in LeGrand, Klondike Pizza, the team where I played three innings a game in right field, brown and yellow. So, every time I see my Padres gear, I think of, Klondike Pizza. I'm like, man, I hated that team.
Hey, Klondike's was rad pizza, though.
Oh, but it was the best pizza in town, by far.
The place that's there now is still awesome, too. I forget what it's called, but Local Harvest or something. I don't know. But they have good. Yeah. Joey orders it sometimes. It's really good too.
Nice, cool. Well, yeah, Kris, we appreciate you coming on, man. It's awesome.
I had a blast, guys.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thanks. We'll do it again.
I don't know how to leave, so I'm never leaving.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll take you out here in a minute, but we'll do it again, and this next time we'll have you drag your dad in.
Yeah, if you can break him out of the retirement center.
He actually, it was a long story, but it's my fault he's not here. I said, I can probably handle it. And plus, I had to drop Joey off, so it's my fault.
Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Hey, thanks a bunch.
Have a good day, buddy.
I had a blast, guys. Take care.
All right. Later. Oh, BC giving me the camera. Oh,
there you go, dude.
Let's bang out my list and get us out of here. So what is today? Thursday? Today is Thursday.
Thursday the 29th.
One more day left of the week. 1813 on this day, rubber was patented by Jeff Hummel. 1879 on this day in Cleveland, Ohio, electric arc lights were used for the first time. 1967 on this day, the single R-E-S-P-E-C-T was released by Aretha Franklin. 1990 on this day right here, the first crane ball hit the Berlin Wall.
Oh, wow.
The destruction of the Berlin Wall began on this day in 1990.
Wow.
In 2011, on this day, Osama bin Laden was killed. On this day, 2011. The number one song on this day in 1991 was still BC's Girl, Amy Grant.
Baby.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. And then my quote of the day is from Mark Twain. It is, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Let me read that one more time. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. That's it.
Good deal.
Cody Bowen tonight, 6:30. Sports show tomorrow. News roundup today at 6. Weather tomorrow at 6. We got a lot going on. Tune in. Pay attention.
Be sure and watch next Saturday night on the roof. Tade McCandy Band here. We're going to have a concert that will be here. There'll be dinner that you'll be able to buy through Marketplace Bistro. Yep.
What time does that start? 6 o'clock?
The dinner there's a wine tasting that starts at 4. Dinner starts at 6. The concert starts at 7. So
nice. And then also, guys, if you could just like, share, follow, that's important. We're trying to build our Instagram and our Twitter right now and our YouTube. So if you have the time, go subscribe, like YouTube, all that. We also have an app on the App Store, the Play Store on Google, iTunes. All you have to do is type EOAlive. It'll pop right up. It's free. You can set up notifications if you want them. You can access all of our content, including our podcasts on Spotify. Everything's podcasted now. So, if you have an idea for a guest as well, give us an email at Kyle@EOAlive TV. If there's something that if there's somebody in the community you want to hear from, shoot me an email. I mean, I most likely will reach out to them and get them on the show. So we appreciate you, Eastern Oregon.
Good deal. Thank you.
See you Tuesday.
Yep.